Hello, magical soul, and welcome to the Awake Revolution podcast. I'm Marie Fleming Grant, and in this podcast, I'm going to be sharing insights, perspectives, stories, and tips guiding you to drop the baggage, wake up the real you, and revolutionize it all: how you think, how you feel, and how you create, so that you can be all of who you came here to be. Hello, how are you? And welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to share this with you because this is something that is very close to my heart. So, in today's episode, I'm going to be speaking about 7 steps to turn things around in your life and/or business. And this is exactly what I do in my own life when I feel it kind of stuck. Usually it's some level of stress, overwhelm, stuckness. It doesn't feel good. Life isn't feeling in flow or magical the way that I know it can. And so this came up for me recently, and periodically it comes up. And I kind of took myself through this process, and I thought, this is a great podcast topic. I can just talk you through the same process, and it's here for you whenever you need. So if things right now are feeling amazing, I invite you just to, if you feel like listening to this episode, just tune in, receive this, set aside some ideas for later, and it might be something you come back to. But if you are in that state right now of, I feel a little stuck or stressed, or just things don't feel like they're moving and they're kind of feeling overwhelming, which is so human, so normal, for this to come up, this is going to be a really helpful episode for you. So for this one, you might want to even grab a pen and paper just to jot down these steps. I'm going to take you through these 7 steps, and like I said, these are definitely ones I use and I always come back to, and they always help me shift, and they get me out of the funk that I'm in, and they get me tapped back into the truth, actually. And also, practically speaking, what can I do right now in this moment, or this day, or this week? Sometimes we get very overloaded. So I hope you enjoyed today's information, and just let it float over you. And you may just want to receive the episode just in information, just relax and receive. And then it might be that you replay it and take notes, do whatever you feel. But before we do, just take a breath, because I think when we're getting into steps, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, it's always good to do it from a place of expansion, do it from a place of embodiment. So just if you're walking or sitting, I know some of you like to walk and listen to my podcast, some of you like to sit and relax or move around, whatever you're doing, just take 3 breaths right now in this space, just to help you slow down a little bit and just receive, because often this is, more information overload. But I really want to speak to you on a soul level, but we are going to get practical as well. But I invite you just to set the intention to receive this in a more embodied way, because I think how we receive information really matters, and we can really set ourselves up to just receive it in that way. And this is less about ideas, and more about the energetic shifts. So my intention for this podcast is that you feel the words, you feel the concepts, and you can allow yourself to start embodying in whichever direction you're needing right now. Especially if there is a lot of stress and overwhelm, or just the need to shift direction. So let's just slow this all down, and we're going to get to it. You can relax, you can remind yourself, we're going to cover this information. It's coming to you right now. Okay, so as you're just in a nice relaxed space, we'll just start off with number 1. And by the way, these steps, you can write them out as questions. This is how I typically do it. I write them out as questions, because when I write them out and I step into that energy, it just allows me to access the unconscious part of my mind, the deeper part of my soul. Whereas if we just think these, and you can just think yourself through these, but you'll find that the act of writing them down, it really does shift. So I invite you to really go deeper with this if you're going to use this, and play around with it. So I would write out, number 1, what is stressing me out right now? Or whatever word applies. What is overwhelming you right now? What is feeling stuck right now? Whatever the thing is. So what is it right now? What is stressing you out right now? And just free flow, tap into it all. And this is what I did, and I always do it. And I just write out all the things that are bothering me and they're feeling restrictive in some way, or they just feel like a lot of pressure. So if you're anything like me, your mind might be super fast and really have the capacity to hold a lot. And so sometimes when I go to bed, my head can spin if I don't do practices to manage the energy. My guides are always explaining to me that the energy type that I have, I take in a lot of energy and information, but more energy. So there is a need to release that energy. And so part of my own practice is releasing the energy in the form of thoughts, ideas, swirlings around in my head, the stresses and the overthinking, or just the constant thinking. So dump it all out on the page. And I tell you, even just that just helps you take a breath. And every time I do it, I often laugh because I see the 27 things I just wrote down on my page. And then I say to myself, well, of course you're stressed. Of course you're feeling overwhelmed because your mind is trying to hold all of these 27 things. Sometimes 42 things. And sometimes by just writing out, it's even the act of writing it out is giving yourself all this compassion to realize just how much you're holding as a human. So write it all out, don't hold back, just let it all out. And this is where you get to be super honest. You don't have to be polite, you don't have to worry about what anyone else is going to think or feel. Just write it all out, all the things that are annoying you and overwhelming you, all on the page. That's the first step. Number 2, then ask yourself, what am I now done with? So of all the things, and then this isn't about figuring out how or the answers to the problems, the solutions. This is about, in light of all of this stuff that's stressing and overwhelming you, what are you now done with? So this is a real decision, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. It's saying, what am I now done with? So let's say you have on your list a whole load of things that need your attention, you're thinking about, you're concerned with. There's just a lot of kind of unfinished pieces, right? Bits and bobs, different things. So it's not that you're now done with all these things, because actually some of these things are still needing an answer or a decision or some solution, perhaps some movement. But it's really about, what are you now done with? So for example, I'm now done with heart palpitations and becoming stressed beyond belief. I'm now done with living with this kind of pressure. I am now done with struggling all the time. Those kinds of things. I am now done with continuously worrying and spending all my time on XYZ. So it's those kinds of things. It's, what are you now done with as a result of sitting here in this space, acknowledging all of these pieces? Write it all out. What are you now done with? It's very liberating. It just, every time I do it, I just exhale and I kind of tap into this beautiful kind of defiance energy. It's like, I am now done with this and I'm done with this. And it's really, if you are more connected with yourself, you'll find that stating what you're done with is really just a reconnection of, underneath all the layers of illusion and humanness, the truth of who you are. And some of you are practicing, some of you are really more connected. But what are you now done with? You get to declare it, you get to write it down. So write it all down and do it with an energy of, this is my declaration. I am now done with this. As a result of this exercise, I'm now done with this, and I recognize that I get to choose the direction I'm now moving in, even if I don't have the answers. Okay, so I hope you get that kind of energy. It's like, what are you now done with? Okay, and then number 3, what am I now calling in instead? So this might just be random things that you allow yourself, but you could, if you feel you kind of want to be a bit more thorough, and this is what I often do, is I go through my list of things I'm done with and I just kind of turn them into, well, if I'm done with that in this way, I am now calling this in instead. So let's say I said to myself, I'll just try and think of something like, let's say if I said, I'm done with spending so much time thinking and focusing on this problem, right? Like maybe it's something I'm working on. So what am I now calling in instead? I'm now calling in a powerful 30 minutes of my choosing to dedicate to this thing that I'm working on, right? That I don't really love, for example. So what are you now calling in instead? So now maybe it's kind of, I'm now calling in more empowerment. I'm now calling in more flow and ease. I'm now calling in more relaxation. I'm now calling in more fun. It's often one I come back to. I'm now calling in more fun. It's been far too serious. So just see what comes through. Write it all out. Again, the act of writing it out is so much more powerful than just thinking about it, because thinking about it is great and it really does help and work, but getting it out of your head by writing, there is a different energy. So I really encourage you, if you're not typically someone who journals or writes, you sit with these questions, you will really feel the difference. And let me know. I'd love to hear. So feel free to message me and let me know how you get on with it. Okay, so now you've done that. Number 4, we're going to tap into your higher self. So check out the other previous episode. I cannot remember the episode number, but if you go through my podcast, you will see, if you're not sure about this area, there is a podcast where I talk about kind of a down to earth talk about the higher self, if you don't know what higher self is. But presuming you know your higher self is that aspect of you, the higher version of you who's already walking that path, as her or him, what are my chosen thoughts? So you're going to step into the energy now as a result of understanding what's stressing, overwhelming you, understanding what you're now done with, understanding what you're now calling in. Step 4 is, okay, if I'm stepping into that version, that higher version who doesn't have these issues and struggles, who's calling in these things already walking that path, we're just going to step into that for a moment to tap into the energies. And there's 4 parts to this that I usually do is, okay, as my higher self, what are my chosen thoughts around this subject? So depending on what you're focusing on, or your issues and challenges and things you're shifting, well, what would you be thinking? What would be your thoughts as your higher self? Write them out. What would be, and you're just identifying them. You're just actually, what you're doing is you're taking yourself and your emotions out of the equation for a moment, and you're tapping into the highest version, the highest consciousness, and you're just having kind of like a look around the corner. Even if you don't feel those things and think those things right now, you're just looking at it and you're identifying, if I was in that phase, and sometimes you are, you see, if you were already in that phase now, well, what would you be thinking? What would your thoughts be? It's almost like you're going to the shop, you're trying on the dress or the suit, you're trying it on for size and it fits you. So what are your chosen thoughts? What would be your feelings? Write them all out. As you write them all out, just allow yourself to breathe. And just, even as you write them out, you will feel the energy. You probably will be writing something along the lines of, I'd be thinking that this is within my, abilities to move forwards with. This is easy. This is just part of my life. This is what I get to receive. That would be your thoughts. Your feelings would be something around, I'd feel more relaxed. I'd feel more effortless. I'd just be feeling I could just breathe. I could sleep better. And then what are your beliefs? What would your beliefs be? You'd be believing something about yourself naturally. So if you're just stepping ahead into that place of already having done or experienced or being the person, you will have beliefs, of course. You'll have beliefs that you're capable. You'll have beliefs that this is just part of your life. It's how you live, right? And then what are your aligned actions? So this is where we get practical. So as a result of these things, what would be the aligned actions? And you'll notice with your aligned actions, your aligned actions do not mean what is every possible action step you could take, hence the stress and the overwhelm. You're actually peeling back the layers and you're saying, okay, what are my aligned actions? And what really helps is to ask today. You might have my aligned actions in general. Let's say to write the book, to create this thing, to step into this project, or to release this project, or whatever it is. Okay, that's bigger picture. Great. So what would be, if any, your aligned actions for today? Are there any? There might not be. There might not be any for today, but there may be some that come through of like, yeah, I could actually just take that one step today. That's my aligned action step. So really stepping into that energy of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, aligned actions. And then number 5, what do I need to bring in to support my real identity now? So you've now just tapped into your higher self, and your higher self is your real identity. Your higher self isn't concerned with the things that you were concerned with at the beginning, all the things that were stressing you out. So we're just simply asking, what kind of support do you need to bring in to support this? Basically, how can you make all of this easier? So just identify, is there anything that you need to bring in? Is there anything you need to let go of or stop doing? Just identify any of this. It's kind of like cleaning up your schedule. It's cleaning your energy field at the same time. Because often I do it and I find, I'm going to just stop doing this. I know a long time ago, it was one of my big changes I made was I'm going to stop looking on social media in the mornings when I wake up, because that was a really big kind of thing I was doing, and it was pulling me into overwhelm. So one of my aligned actions would have been to not do that, and the support would have been to just bring in something else to do instead. And that's how I started getting into my morning routines and really starting to shift. So what is it you need to bring in or let go of or stop doing to make this more supportive and make it all easier for yourself, right? Another thing I did when I started to say, at one stage, I really wanted to move my body more, and I really committed to one of my actions was actually to do some exercise, because it moves my energy in a really powerful way. So to kind of, how can I bring in support to support my real identity now? It was kind of little action steps, like getting my gym gear, like my sportswear, but I was working out from home, but I still needed to put that on, because putting it on got me into this frame of mind. So what I used to do is I had all my when I used to do it first thing in the morning, there was a phase. I used to like doing it in the mornings. I would have my clothes ready, right? So in the morning, I just have to get up, go to the bathroom, pull my clothes on, have a big drink of water. I had all these things ready, and they were ways to support me, so I didn't have to do it all in the morning. So basically, this is about number 5, is just what can you bring in or let go to make your shifts easier? Little practical things or other things. And then the last 2 steps is very important. So now you've done your whole process. You've gone through all the things. You've acknowledged how you felt. You've written it all out. You've asked what you're done with. You've asked what you're going to call in. You've done your energy shifting. You've stepped into your higher self, right? Got into thoughts, feelings, beliefs, the aligned actions. You've taken practical, kind of identified any practical stuff. You've looked at how you can support yourself. And now the final 2 steps is what we often forget, is to remember that it isn't all on us. So step 6 is to simply ask your guides or your higher self, or whatever you can relate to for outside of yourself, for any further guidance or direction. So that is just simply a question and a reflection. So depending on who you are and how you feel you connect, you may have a divine team of guides that you know and you communicate with daily. This would be where you ask them, any further guidance or direction for me? This is what I typically do. But often I also ask my higher self. I just tap in, higher self, any further guidance or direction for me right now? Even if you don't know, you don't have that direct relationship with your guides or your team, you don't have that, that is okay, because you can still connect with them. So I invite you just to make some time to ask the question and receive guidance. So make this into anything that makes sense for you. For some of you, it will be God, it will be universe, it will be source. Okay, so whatever that higher divine connection is for you, or it could be the wise part of yourself, but your higher self, whatever feels resonant for you. But this is about taking it off your shoulders, your beautiful, magical shoulders, and understanding that we're co-creating. We're co-creating in everything. I'm co-creating in my business services. So in the old days before, I would have just had it all on my shoulders, trying to figure it all out. Now I do my part, but then I say, okay, team, what else do we need to know? Is there anything that I need to implement or release or change that I haven't identified yet? Constantly asking my higher self. So really bring that. It's a beautiful practice, because it just takes the pressure off your shoulders, right? And just ask the question. If you don't get an answer, trust that you will be guided. Trust that you may get a message in the strangest ways. We all have our ways. Some people have angel numbers. Some people have feathers. They see pennies on the ground. Some people will hear a random song on the radio and it will shift them and give them some information in the most amazing ways. You might just come across somebody's message, video, podcast, quote on the internet. Release the need if you don't receive it. Like, of course, I receive direct guidance because I'm a channel, but not everybody receives it in that way. But before I had my channel open, I would receive my guidance in all kind of synchronistic ways. So ask the question, remember you're co-creating, and allow the guidance. You might even get a dream or a symbol or something, but it's so beautiful when you start to help yourself in this way. And then it leads me to number 7, which is the most powerful of all things. Once you've done your part of it, which you've done with this process, number 7 is, what can I hand over to the universe? And I like to say, over to you, universe. It's something I say all the time. To myself, I say it to my partner Michael as well, my husband, and I often say, "Oh, okay, I've done X, Y, Z, da 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 da. I feel really good. Over to you, universe." So it's just this kind of declaration of hand it over to the universe. You could, if you wanted to, even write down. I've done this before. I've written down like aligned actions that I can take care of. So let's say in my business, let's say aligned actions in my business could be, yes, I'll do the live streams, I'll create the content, I'll create the service and I'll put it out there and all that stuff that's in my hands and I get to do. But over to you, universe, as to who receives it, who comes across and stumbles across my podcasts or my videos, my live streams. Over to you, universe, as to which clients get directed to me. And when I started doing it like that, it just took so much pressure off my shoulders. And I do still have to practice this because I am the first person that gets very into it's hard to delegate sometimes. So this is a really, really juicy one. But this is just not in business, this is in life as well. It's like you do your bit, over to you, universe. So you can write down a beautiful way. If you like the visual, you could get a piece of paper on the left hand side, write down your actions, and on the right hand side, write down delegated to the universe. So, you know, that the universe will just take care of rearranging things in the most magical divine ways, right? So I love that process because it's proactive. It gets you to shift energetically. It empowers us because we can really decide we don't like the direction. We need to turn things around in our life or business or both. But we're doing it from a very energetic perspective, practical as well. Bit of humor in there, preferably expansive support and understanding that we are co-creating and getting out of this kind of micromanaging the universe energy that I've definitely had, and I know many people have had that as well, into, well, we are co-creating, so we only ever have to do what we're responsible for, and we get to shift and change, but we are divinely supported. So hand it over to the universe. What over to you, universe. And then you can write that down or just float it out there, however resonates with you. So, just to recap then, 7 steps to turn things around in your life and business. Number 1, what is stressing me out right now? Number 2, what am I now done with? Number 3, what am I now calling in instead? And then number 4, tapping into your higher self. If you were already your higher self, what would be your chosen thoughts? What would be your feelings? What would be your beliefs? What would be your aligned actions? And is there anything today in particular that would be your aligned actions? Number 5, what do I need to bring in to support my real identity now? That can be let go of or stop, basically how to make it easier. And then number 6, ask your higher self or your guides for any further guidance or direction. And then number 7, handing it over to the universe, because the universe has its own magic. And what's so powerful about this is when we decide our direction, just for now, we get to shift. The universe will rearrange itself because as we move, we change direction. The energies around respond. So we are so much more powerful than we realize, than we can see with the human eye. So I hope that you felt that. I hope that you felt and received whatever you needed to receive. And I just invite you right now just to take a beautiful, delicious breath all the way in and exhale. and just allow yourself to settle. So I know we kind of covered a lot of info. You can replay this again if you need to, or if you want to. You can settle with the ideas. You can just reflect now and see anything that's come to you as a result of hearing this. You might have sparked some ideas or some insights for your own self, your life, your business. And that is it. That is all. We are complete. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. And as always, get in touch, let me know. And I send you so much love and reminding you that you are incredibly magical. No matter what it looks like right now, you are incredibly magical. And it's okay if you lose your way sometimes. And it's okay if you feel completely off path. I do many, many times. Yes, I do. I share a lot of live streams and content, but I definitely never hold myself out to have it all figured out. I'm a work in progress, as we all are. So take the pressure off. And when you have those very human moments of doubt, fear, stress, overwhelm, have them, live them, breathe them. But then remember, you get to come back, and remember that you can use this process or other ways of just gently guiding yourself back, because you have everything inside of you that you need. Okay, lovely, magical soul. I send you so much love. Thank you for listening. And I will talk to you again soon in the next episode. All right, take care. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know, if you wish to reach out anytime to me with any questions or comments or feedback, I would love to hear. So have a look in the description of this episode and you'll find all the links to any of my groups, my website, my other social media platforms. So feel free to get in touch. Thank you so much again, and I will talk to you very, very soon.